it's CollegeGyalYana again. So I'm gonna actually try to make this video much shorter, and I'm trying to show more of my upper body and face rather than how it was before. Anyway, so as some of my friends and followers know, I'm working on a self-published book right now. It's my memoir, and I'm gonna just quickly talk about the process. Well, as I said in my other college video, I always was interested in writing. I wanted to do print journalism and broadcast. And I always did a lot of poetry. I started around age 11, really. I started with this short story about my upbringing with my dad, and it was called Framed. And I took that scenario, and it's like I ran with it and just used fictional names. And my teacher at the time, I don't remember her name. It was in IS 68, sixth grade. She had blonde hair. She was young. She was like, Ayana, did you write this? Did you write this? Did you write this? I'm like, yes, I wrote this. And she was like, believing I got it from the internet. She was like, you are extremely talented. I could see you being an actual author one day. And it's like, from age 11, I just got this creative spark within me where I started off with the poetry. So I was writing all my little puppy love boyfriends these in-depth poetry. And then I started eventually at age 13. I started with the Map Mice. It was these two girls, these two sisters that had this blog called Map Mice where you had pen pals. And I started with this aspiring young writers. It's funny because wait, when I did my beauty pageant, National American Miss in 2005 at age 11, my expected job title in the future, when you come up there, my name is Ayana and I'm here to do this. I was like, I'm an aspiring author. And I just knew I was going to be an author, but I actually didn't believe it. Like, I used to read all my stories to everyone and they were in shock because I was 10, 11. I was 11, 12, 13. And I was writing really in-depth stories. I always was interested in English. English as a child. Bad at math. So one day, I just decided to stop making up excuses and try somehow to get myself out there, which was this year. It it just really took off. So in my possession, I have like when I started college at Kingsborough in 2015 March, I ended up doing a lot of academic essays, a lot of investigative research, and it was based on my life. I have one about double consciousness from W.E.B. Du Bois, but I say Dubois, kind of like on the Boondocks, that guy, Tom Dubois, whatever his name is. So I touched on double consciousness, and I did a contrast of my upbringing compared to other upbringings, and I did a lot of stories about the bourgeois and the proletariat. This was all for English class. And then I recently, this year, I joined Scepter in my school. It's the school newspaper. I haven't written any articles for them. I actually have articles that I haven't given them that I do intend to have printed in the newspaper. I want to say fall since I'm doing this summer, but fall is when everyone's going to be reading it. But I basically I'm not an aspiring author at this point. I am an author, self-published basically, and it was all possible through me investigating on YouTube, and then I found CreateSpace, Amazon. Because I love Amazon. I love everything about Amazon. Amazon Prime member for all these years. I've been using Amazon since 2000, and I was 8 years old. So what was that? 2003 or something? Wow, Amazon, you've been around for a while, and it all started with me ordering The Sims. The Sims Deluxe Edition. That's how long ago it was. Anyway, so it's like through pain. That's how everything started. Like when I started like my puberty stage, I was in this dark stage, you know, and I began just writing these really morbid and dark essays in my diaries. And it just sounded crazy. I was talking about I'm invisible to the world and I'm just horrible. You know, it's like when you're going through your puberty stage, it's like you're not getting along with your parents, you think the world's against you. Anyway, basically, I started writing, I remember now, journal entries. My mom got me password journal and all these things. And it started with that. I would write everything in my little journals. I had all kinds of journals, which I, luckily, although I lost a lot of stuff, I still have my writing collection and I still have my journals from age 5 and up. So it started with that, and like I said, I started short story writing really at age 13 to 14. Before that, it was poetry mainly, journal writing, and then when I got into the school in Brooklyn for high school, my second high school, they had real short story courses, and there was a teacher named Mr. Kenyuk, and he had short story class, and I started with this story called P.S. Girl Clicks Are Deadly. And it was supposed to be like this series talking about cyberbullying. Kind of was like that movie 13 and 13 Reasons Why. What is with this number 13? But it was like that. It was about how all the bullying led to, I'm thinking about publishing it, led to the girl clicks were deadly. So that was like my first story. I actually right now I'm doing my memoir. It's really important to me. And then I have some naughty book. It's going to be kind of like a Zane book. It's like a sex urban novel that I'm working on. Not for children's eyes, please. Do not read that. But then I also want to do the recipe book, but due to me, in another video, I'll speak about my new healthy lifestyle choice because my health is really declining. I don't really want to do a soul food book at this point. I'm thinking about modifying the recipes into healthy soul food, but that's a story for something else. That's for the cooking channel. But right now, I have my short story collection. It's really big. I have all my academic essays. My professor was even considering having me do the honor symposium. It's something where written works that you have at school you could present it. So we really want to publish that double consciousness one in academic journal. Next year is gonna be crazy. It's my last year, but I'm gonna be doing a lot of things. So basically, this is about how my journal, this journal that I picked up at Barnes and Noble, it looks a bit bizarre, but this journal, it just was calling me in the store. It was on sale in Barnes and Noble. I was going through some things. I just finished. I just moved here, a different borough, from where I was in the Bronx, and I was really dealing with the post-traumatic stress. I was dealing with, although I was out of the situation of my living, I was still suffering from the flashbacks and memories of what I had to go through. So it all started off with how I felt betrayed and I felt like I was forced out of my own apartment and I felt defeated. So it all started with me journaling about how I felt about this person and how I felt that I was betrayed and I was abused, and it started off with that. But then it also started off as self-help for myself. Self-help for myself. I mean, like, it was help for myself. So it was like a self-help book. That's how it started off. I started talking about narcissistic abuse, which is an actual thing. And no, I'm not making myself a victim. It's actually real. I started off with a narcissistic abuse tactics, how to survive and how to deal with when you're residing with someone who's a narcissist and sociopaths. So it started off like that. Like if you look in there, it's funny. I'm gonna quickly try to read. It was talking about abuse. So it talks about detached state and emotionless mannerisms of those narcissistic abusers encountered through the years, vacancy of spirits and low vibration. This memoir I think is gonna be really interesting because I combine my I'm teaching you self help basically, how to conquer your fears and conquer being abused and how to be a survivor. But I'm showing that I've actually gone through what you've gone through. So in that, I have like a timeline. I kind of flip back and forth, and I think it's interesting because I make connections of how it's kind of like a cycle repeats in your life when you're conditioned to abuse. So the abuse could start off in your home, you're witnessing domestic violence, and then unconsciously you end up, they say you date your father, so you end up dating your father, and then he's abusive. I mean, you're not dating your father literally, okay? You're basically your abuser mimics your father's tendencies. So you're dating him, it's recycling again, and then you get a best friend, like what happened to me. Best friend, friends, they're also abusive, and you can't really see that because you just think that abuse is just from men or relationships or something. But it could, friends are abusers as well. And no, I'm not trying to make myself out as a victim. I'm stating facts. I'm not mentioning any names in this book. I'm not looking for pity. Any trolls is gonna comment and say how I need to be strong and I need to shut up and all these things. I'm really not gonna pay attention to that. I'm here to speak about how to survive abuse. It's actually not really physical abuse. This doesn't really focus on the aspect of physical abuse. It focuses on emotional abuse, manipulation tactics, how to persevere through these things, how to pinpoint these things before it escalates. A lot of domestic violence is, well, a lot of abusive relationships is not even physical. A lot of the relationships I've been in, and I'm able to reflect now and pinpoint and realize my wrongs. And through this book, I make the connection of how I ended up in this state. It was like a series of unfortunate events. It was like from childhood, I carried that on the submission as a woman and the abuse. I took it all in. I was like, there must be a flaw or fault within me. So I was justifying and I was staying in these environments. I was getting abused, not physically, but all across the board because my vibration was so low, my self esteem was so low that I was attracting those who prey on people that's just looking for someone to listen, looking for a companion. So I encountered it not only in relationships, but within my own family and also within my alleged friendships. It was the same. So what I like to do is in the book, I speak about, like I said, not just a relationship abuse, like romantic relationship, but with my own friends. They were also realizing my vulnerability, realizing my desire to be loved and liked. I was degrading myself in the process. So it wasn't just with a man or a woman or a relationship, romantic. It was all across the board. I was vulnerable and weak to all these people. They could sense it, they could pick up on it, and they were preying on it. And I was just suffering. But I've really been able to reflect through my journal writing, which is here. So when I went to return my keys in the Bronx, they had in like Co-op City, one of my favorite areas. Sorry that the camera's shaking like this, my legs are hurting. They had Barnes and Noble. That's my favorite place. Whenever I'm feeling down, I'm in Barnes and Noble. Barnes and Noble. It's just the atmosphere I love at the cafe. So I went to this Barnes and Noble when they had a blowout sale. Why? Because they were closing down. It's not fair. The Bronx needs a Barnes and Noble. No one always wants to go to Manhattan. It was huge. It was just wonderful. I loved it so much. So I went all the way to Barnes and Noble from Fordham, and it was nearing the ending. I think it was going to close on December 31st. This was November 8th. So I went in there and I was in the anxiety section for my anxiety self-help section, and then I ended up in a sales section. And my bookcase over there, those books are mainly free. I haven't bought. I'm saying over there like you can see. I put a picture. I haven't purchased any of those books. There's a bookman over here when you come out of the transportation. He gives out all these free books, or they're really cheap. And I'm just like a book addict. it all started with books, and then I started writing. So back to what I was saying, I was upset, and it ended up me trying to find an outlet of expression before my medical appointment I had that day, because I wasn't going to leave the Bronx and come back to this borough without fulfilling everything I had to in the Bronx, because I didn't want to come back. I like to handle it all in 1 week or in 1 day. I don't like to come back and face that pain. So I went to Barnes and Noble, and I was actually going to go to a counseling appointment. I'm not ashamed of going to counseling. Although I counsel myself, the professional counseling was able to give me the skills necessary to evaluate my situation and stop from this cycle of victimization, pinpoint what was going on in my life, and own up to my own part that I played in allowing these things to occur. It was able to give me strength, insight, and I didn't feel so beat up anymore. I realized due to things I encountered, I internalized it and I became it. I took it on. But now I'm really proud of myself. Due to the self help books, due to my own writing, and due to counseling, I'm able to realize and really process the situations that I've been in. So basically, my inspiration for writing this memoir is that I really want to get my story out there because I want to close those chapters of my life. Literally, I want to close those chapters of my life. So I want to put it out there. I want to definitely put it out there to let people know that you can break the cycle with the abuse. You don't have to submit to abuse because you witnessed it. I've had times where I said, well, I witnessed abuse, so that's my role. It sounds crazy when you say it, like you should know you're not supposed to get hit, but as I said before, abuse is not only physical. Um, Emotional abuse is very real and very painful. They say that neglect is more hurtful than abuse with a child. Like the neglect tactics that I was subjected to was just, it was like torture. Because hitting, you heal that pain, that physical pain, it gets over with. But the neglect of walking past you on national holidays and not acknowledging you, that could kill you slowly. Like ignoring kills you slowly. And that's a tactic that was being used. But I'm not here to bash people right now. I'm not gonna do all these videos complaining, but this is just about how you could turn literally your journal. All of this is my journal. Like, let me put this down over here. I don't want to be showing myself really, but I have to show this. So this right here is a collection of my writing from when I moved in here. I was trying to, like I said, close the chapters of what had happened to me. So I began writing. So I don't even know if you can see this due to the light, but literally these are the pages. So all of this, I'm going to show you how interesting it is when you type this up, how much it becomes. So let me hurry up and make this video only 30 minutes. Just this, because I'm not even finished with this journal. This is my book right here. This is only a few pages, but this is my book. This actually ended up as almost 11,000 words. So, it's interesting how a journal can become your memoir. That's how I began. That was my motivation behind my book. So over here, I just have basically, I actually have my printed out book. It's in book format. I put it in Amazon Create Space, as well as I use the template on Microsoft Word to get it into that chapter book format. So I'm going to show you it. So all of this stuff, this lighting is so annoying. Let me move it because I want people to be able to see. Let me see. How do you see? Well, I need a camera. This is getting a minute. I want you guys to see. So this right here is how it ends up looking when you just type in regular essay form. So It was, oh, hey, now you can see it. That light was killing everyone. So this video's all over the place, but I want to do a quick video of how you can do it. You can do it. I've actually given the book in printed form, printed it out in the book format, but on paper like this. Because I didn't get as, I did everything. I uploaded it and I printed it out. So it was like a booklet like this. And I gave one to one of the people in my acknowledgments. But let me just show you quickly how interesting it is. Okay, so, oh, here we go. I have it. I have at least the first page. So this picture, I don't want to get in trouble due to copyright. It's not even my picture, but she kind of has an Asian look going on. So I kind of thought of myself. And on my actual, because it looks like a mystery book right now. Let me show my title and cover it because it's special, special title. But basically, this right here is how it was, and then you fold it if you want to read it. So I actually gave people this. I gave them this and I emailed it to them for review to make sure it made sense. But in Amazon Create Space, when I do a video on my Macintosh, I'm going to do a what is it called? Screen recording of the step-by-step process. But basically, I want you to hear this blurb is going to change because right now it's not only about narcissistic abuse self-help. That's not the focus. It is a memoir now in addition to self-help chapters. So let me just read you an example actually. So right here's the prologue, motivation behind the title. And I'm going to show you or read you how it ended up. I started off with the self-help and I started talking about the symptoms of narcissistic abuse and everything. But then I chimed in with my experiences themselves. That's when the memoir really came in. But my book is a combination. So what I did was I ended up, this is steps taken from November. December is when I really started off. So I ended up, you saw the journal that I showed you? What I did was I photocopied that journal, every single page, right? Because I have a binder where I started my rough draft. So I wanted to show how many pages I actually had. So all of these right here are the photocopied pages of the journal. I wanted to get it in page format. I wanted to get it out of the journal because it was written in pen, so in case something happened. So I photocopied everything, as you can see. I photocopied everything, and from there, I gave myself a time frame. I believe I said by January, I needed to have my rough draft typed. So that's when I started typing everything, and I typed up everything, and it ended up as almost 11,000 words. So I don't know if you can see this. I'm going to show my process of writing because I'm also not finished yet. So basically, here we go. Okay. So right here is one of my chapters, or sections. It's called Intuition, Defense Against Narcissists, Your Most Powerful Weapon. As I said, a lot of it is going to be self-help. It's going to be talking about how to avoid situations, and then I'm going to show that I've experienced this as well by chiming in with, this is what happened to me. So I have you always know, believe in yourself. Honestly speaking, your soul always knows what's good for you. It always works in your best favor. The universe has its way of giving you signs in order to avoid certain situations and especially people. They say that evil, undesirable people are drawn to good souls. But even so, despite this fatal attraction, we are still given signs in order to protect and shield us from those with bad intentions. Negativity attracts positivity. As weird as that may sound, perhaps it's the entity's attempt at claiming more lives, more victims. That gut feeling that maybe you shouldn't do something feeling, but we can't quite put our finger on it. But it's this distinct feeling, almost like a warning. When we disobey, it's followed by guilt. Part of you questions whether or not you should ignore the feeling and go against it, engaging in the questionable behavior anyway. You know that maybe you should listen, but sure enough, you don't listen and things go horribly wrong. And then another section I have is taming my beast, my inner hidden rage. This is directly about me. And then I start off with the best way to forgive someone is to first learn to forgive yourself. How do I undo 3 years of intense trauma and pain and suffering? Will I ever regain the sanity that I once had and lost? It's unfair to me to have to start anew once again like this. On the contrary, maybe it's essential in order for me to revive myself. So as you can see, it kind of sounds like, I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you think it sounds like journal entries? It kind of sounds like the way I write my journal entries are like a whole reflection. So it sounded a lot like a book to me. So I said this is perfect due to my, you know, good writing skills. It already sounds like a book, so it doesn't even sound like regular journal entries. Like, hi guys, today this happened. It wasn't even written like that. It started off as kind of support to myself. How to prevent myself from being victimized again. There is a huge scary fly in here. I need some mesh in these windows. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, it looks scary. Okay. But and then I have this. I'm like, this sounds more like me myself. I'm like, I feel like I really let myself go. I hate this person. Last year I was strong, motivated. I was on top of the world. Blah blah blah. So it changes a little bit. But what I'm and then I have another chapter, resentment chapter. This is directly about the experience. I'm like, not my best friend. It couldn't be. I want a cleansing. So within the book, it's interesting because it's actually in order. This one I like. It's called Questions. Questioning God and the universe. And I have what part of God's plan is this? What did I do to deserve this? Am I that horrible of a person? And then I have when one door closes, another one opens. At first, I found myself questioning God and the universe. I questioned why I had to suffer the way I had been. I was enraged and very confused. It's me coming to terms. I take ownership of what I contributed to that led to this situation. The warning signs. It's not just pretty much bashing that person, but I really like my memoir slash book because it's about. I have an interesting chapter, and this one's long. This chapter, I'm working on it right now. That's why the book is kind of halted right now because it's called "History Really Does Repeat Itself." That chapter, most of the other chapters don't really go too in depth with backtracking events. It's most likely self help itself. But then this history chapter, I decide to connect the events. It's pretty vague when it comes to the tips on how to deal with things in the self help. But history really does repeat itself is a very interesting chapter because do that, do that, do through that chapter, I was able to reflect on how my past was inside of my future and it was dictating my future and it should not have been. It was like I was dating my father, you know, I was recycling everything. I was my mother, I was other women I've seen, and I'm glad that I'm able to have this memoir written because it has really helped me in healing myself. I'm still not done with the healing process, but I really have gotten far. And what is that, 7 months? No, December, January, February. I started November 8th. I started writing in my journal. November, December, January, February, March, April, May, June. So 8 months time. My journal, it became my book. So this is how it looked typed. Can you see it? I can't even see anything. I ended up typing it. And as I said, it ended up becoming the booklet. The funny, interesting part is at first, I was a little cowardly. I was concerned about me having people in favor of the abusers, although I don't use names, but you know the people that say you're making yourself out to be a victim, get over it, you're going to write this whole book about bashing people. It's not about bashing people, but if someone has done something and I speak about what was done, there shouldn't be any problem with that. You've done it. So why are you telling me that the person who was abuse victim should stay silent. No, I'm going to tell the story to share with others how to avoid this situation. And you do play a part in the abuse. You don't have to endure the abuse, but I was so conditioned to abuse. I was so passive. I was so cowardly, and it's like everyone in my life that I consider abuser was like my bully, and I talk about this in the book. It's like I was dying to be liked. It's like that's how I was during my childhood. If there was a bully, I would try to befriend the bully, and it would kill me that no matter what I did for this bully, they still wouldn't like me. I'm like, I'm already nice, and I'm doing more things for you. Why won't you like me? When it came to little boys in the class, I was there giving them my lunch money, starving myself, giving them my Danimals yogurt or cheese cheddar dip, whatever that thing is, the crackers and cheese, crackers and cheese. But literally, guys, it went from that book to being photocopied to look like this, and then it ended up like this. Once I put it into the format, and because they provide you with a template, I got the template off of Amazon Create Space, and then it was able to go from, as you saw, right? It was able to go from like this, like regular format. I just wanted it to get typed as a draft. Imagine going from this and then going to actually, it starts to look like a real book now. So that's how you do it. But it's a very interesting process. I'm gonna show, but this stuff is all like this because this was my book. When you start writing a book, I was on this really interesting blog that I found, and it really motivated me. She showed me the process. So I had dividers in there, and I had, like, this was a divider for table of content, and I had everything divided. But recently, after I did my project, I really needed that binder for a project. So I gave in the proposal for my mental health organization proposal. I gave it with that binder, but I really liked the binder because all of this, it showed my progress. It showed how this then got photocopied and it ended up like this. But basically, this is just to show that I am working on my memoir. It's almost finished. I'm on the history chapter where I go in depth about specific events. But I mean, guys, like, look at this. It used to be written. It used to be written. Hundreds of words written. It was written, and then it was the diary over there, and then it ended up photocopying, and then it ended up like this. Just to get some content down, organize my content, and then it ended up in book format. But back to the cover. I'm so sorry that I'm all over the place like this. What I'm laughing at is that the cover was like this, and then the cover ended up as you saw, which is somewhere in here. I'm trying to hide the cover because I don't really like showing the title because it's a really special title for me. That title just explains it all. And in the book, I talk about how that title is relevant. I use the title within the book. I'm like, that's why it's this. I always refer back to that title, so you know the title's relevant. But I have this thing here. This is the outline draft table of contents. Oh, here we go. I don't have to keep showing my special things. So with Amazon Create Space, when they give you the template, you stop looking like this. I'm really hoping you can see this. You stop looking like this, and you end up going to this. Doesn't it look more like a real book now? So my whole entire book is actually uploaded onto Amazon Create Space already. I'm just working on a specific, because I had to put something there. I wanted to print out something. So you see the questioning God in the universe chapter? This is it now. So that whole thing ends up as a lot of pages. For the most part, I'm just working on plugging in the events. So this is pretty much, so you know, when you're reading the book, it's like, oh, it's like this. Turn it this way. It's like this. You know, it's like a book. It's like this. It's like this. But I'm just ecstatic. I'm so excited because this is something that I really, really want to do. So I'm gonna, people are like, well, you're saying all these things and not explaining how Believe me, I'm gonna put up a video of the process of create space and show everything that's going on. I'm at 36 minutes. And then I have another chapter here, Masters of the Skies, Resentment chapter. This one is called Masters of the Skies, Monsters in Disguise. And I talk about, I use some aliases. I don't really use her name at all. I talk about my battle with post-traumatic stress, how it came in. I want to show you this right here quickly. So, you see the way I said that I have self-help in a lot of the chapters. Oh, it's also right here. I have self-help in a lot of the chapters, but also I have a chapter in which I really go in depth on the events themselves, but I try to keep it vague in the self-help vicinity so I don't have people straying away. Like, what is this, a memoir or is it a self-help book? So the self-help sections actually do sound like self-help. So I have things to keep in mind. Healing process ain't easy. Actually, this is a draft. Okay, so I have try looking for the good in everything, embrace and appreciate even little things. It really could be worse. There's always someone going through situations more difficult than your own. Try to speak things into existence. Remind yourself every single day that you will accomplish your goals. This sounds like self-help, but with the twist is how I input, which I saw done in one of my books I got from Barnes& Noble. I'm about to do another video that's going to talk about how self-help books got me to help myself. Basically, they do work. I really took it to heart. I was going through extreme emotional issues, psychological issues, and those books, it sounded like I had someone there holding my hand. It helped me with the skills to get out of bed and all. Are those cats fighting outside? Okay, but right here I have words of advice. Don't worry yourself by rushing through your goals. The most successful thing you can do is have your vision well thought out, planned, and executed accordingly. Don't be afraid to take it one day at a time. Limitations don't actually exist. You can do anything you put your mind to. The universe is always listening. No prayer goes unanswered. I don't want to specify any specific religion within this book. I don't want to detour anyone. I don't want to seem like I'm associated with any specific religion. That's why when I say the universe and prayer, I'm kind of vague. I'm not ashamed of my religion or my association. I'm not even going to reveal that. However, I want it to be universal. So if I'm a Hindu reading this, when I see no prayer goes unanswered, that's their prayer. I don't say like no Christian prayer. The the for example, if I was Muslim and was marketing toward a Muslim audience, I would probably say Allah is always listening, you know. But I just have always listening. No prayer goes unanswered. If you apply it to your life, I'm trying to help you apply it. I'm not limiting it because faith is kind of universal thing. You have your specific faith, but it's kind of similar. I don't want to cast anyone out, but we're just souls, bodies are mere vessels for the time being. Destiny and fate are real. Again, this is not to be taken out of context. These are my beliefs. This is not, when I say we are just souls, bodies, and vessels for the time being, due to my own experiences, I believe that. I don't know if other people believe that. Certain things you don't believe, you could just ignore. But I'm just hope that something within this book motivates and inspires you, and you do believe it. If you don't believe it, you put it down. But and I have in life, people are put in your path sometimes temporarily because they're what you need at the time. Once you outgrow this phase in your life, the universe will throw them out of your path. Help you rid of this extra baggage. And then, for example, I would input, like, for example, I wouldn't say for example, but I'll just say now. For example, um, with my roommate, for the time being, I needed someone of her vibration. But later on, due to different life choices, we outgrew each other because I was excelling in a certain area and she was excelling in a certain area, and we separated. For example, that's how it would go. It's like you input the experience within. That's why I focus on the self help first. Then I have my own writings of specific events. I could either put it in the history repeats itself chapter, or I could just plug it in. You see, I said sometimes people are putting your path. I could say at the bottom with me, you know. Let me see if I do it on the next page. Yeah, I kept blank spaces because I want to refer to my own experiences underneath. I think it's gonna be interesting. But that's basically that. And then the last thing, these are all the history events. These are my history events. So it's like, looks like there's, like I said, I got the whole book written and then I focused on the events and where I'm gonna plug them in. But I've been working on this book now for 8 months. Actually, I'm kind of lying. So this whole entire thing right here was written in the month of November and December. And then in January, I put it together. That was dedication. Now, the events I've written over time, but the entire book was written quickly. It was written from November, December, January, basically. And now I'm done with that, and I'm editing and I'm plugging in the history. I'm trying to make the history sound realistic, trying to engage my readers. I don't want it to sound boring. I feel like I'm doing a different approach with my self-help book. It's like I'm showing that I'm a survivor, literally, of these things. So I'm plugging it in, and it sounds novel, like the way I describe the experiences that has happened to me. I don't just say like today, a cat bit me. I'll be like, and the way I use my imagery a lot. I'm like, the way I saw the cat and he was the predator and I was the prey and I was a mouse again. Like the way I describe it, I really love the way I describe it. I do think I'm a good writer. I just, I need to take away from the self doubt. The reason why I was at a standstill with all of these projects is because, I feel like you should do a process. I tell people all the time, one of my advice for writing, they ask me, how do you do such good writing? I do drafts. This whole thing is drafts. The book was a draft. Then I do process of editing. I write whatever comes to my mind, and then step by step, I start with my editing. You have to get the basics out first. You don't edit your thoughts, which is what a lot of people do. They're like, okay, I'm gonna edit my thought to perfect it. You keep not writing it because you're like, no, it doesn't sound good. You're editing it. You're editing it, but you're editing a rough draft, and you can't possibly get any content accomplished if you're editing it mentally before it even gets written. That was one of my flaws that I stopped doing mostly. But I'm really excited for you guys to see this stuff. Um, Sorry if the video's unorganized. I'm not even gonna pick that up. I don't want anyone seeing me bending all the way over. But the last thing I'm gonna show is this author roadmap. I got this in the library. We have write your nonfiction book. Well, it's not a nonfiction book, but I still it talks about writing it, publishing it, and marketing and selling it. I'm not really worried about the marketing and selling. For me myself, I just want to get this book in the computer and print it out or in Kindle copy. I'm not really focused yet on selling it and marketing it in stores. I just want to give it to most of my friends and family, have it readily available for my own self, just to say, oh, look, this is my printed out form. So we have different stages. It has like hire book coach, virtual artist assistant. I'm not really going to do that. What I did was I have professors that have written books before. I've sent it to them, and I have people really close to me. I'm sending them excerpts. I'm asking them for their advice to see how it sounds. We have like consider where and when you will write. I write all the time, everywhere. Consider title. I have the title. Consider working with a partner. Not really. I'm not considering that. Write first sentence, paragraph. I check that off. So basically, it just makes you feel excited. It shows like what you've accomplished. Some things I have a long way to go. I don't. It doesn't apply to me, but the roadmap helps you feel like you're getting things accomplished. Because with me, I was like, oh man, I have all this content. When am I gonna put it together? So that's why I got the binder. I'm not really worried about this right now because all of this is already in the computer. But I have the binder to show my book in its rough form. At first, guys, it was this. It was construction paper. It was written. But now it's literally inside the computer, ready. If I wanted to just put the self-help book like that, I could. but I'm inputting my memoir within it, you know. But then it has include headings, draft table of contents, add illustrations. As I said, that book cover is a draft. That book cover, I had it like that because it's showing the girl, it's showing the vacancy within her, the void. One side of her face is normal, and then the other side of her face is like a skeleton. So that's, I was trying to pinpoint how you become dead, basically, from your experiences. You're void. It's like you're a walking zombie. So I thought that picture really applied to me. For the for the book cover, it's not just about surviving narcissistic abuse. It's me, and I'm a survivor and my experiences as a whole. I changed it into really memoir. So of course, at first I was going under alias AGC, but now it's going to say my name, Ayana Gwendolyn Chung, because this is not something I'm ashamed of. This is me, my triumph, my survival. So why not be on the cover? So I'm gonna get my brother to do some photography of me, most likely walking on the beach, and I might be I might be kicking that. I could use Photoshop to put my face in it and have my own face become a skeleton. And I might be on the beach like with my arms out, and I might be kicking the negativity out of my life. Like I might be kicking that picture or ripping that picture of myself or something. And then I'll have my blurb is gonna change. The blurb, as I call it, the blurb right now it's talking about. It sounds funny. It sounds like, because I mean, if you read this, it sounds hot. Like I could probably take this and create a mystery book. At first, guys, I was interested in writing a lot of mystery, a lot of mystery. So this could be a mystery book, a horror book. I did a whole bunch of horror that I have in my collection. Tell me this doesn't sound like horror. It says it happens to the best of us. Me, my mom, you, or maybe even that woman you see at the dry cleaners doing your morning routine. Betrayed, abandoned, deceived, bamboozled, and neglected are all side effects of being in trauma bonds with narcissists and sociopaths. In my book, I share my tale of my triumph in breaking free from abuse. This is my account of encounters throughout my life with those I call whatever. It exists in people who are alive in a physical sense but cut off from any real feelings and emotions. They are selfish, unempathetic beings. They are shut off from having any real connections or human relationships. It is as if they have prematurely killed themselves before their actual death. Insensitive, inconsiderate, seemingly calm people, it's all actually a mere facade. They wear masks to keep you fooled. You never get the real them. Just deal with one of their varying personalities. It is never beneficial to be in a relationship with such an individual. Trying to maintain a relationship with someone like this will only result in a self-destruction of yourself. They latch on to you, basking in your glory without giving you any credit. Moochers, con artists, and thieves is what they are. This is probably going to go in the book itself, in one of the. I like my book because I start off with negative outlook like this, the way I group them. Then I have a more positive outlook. It starts to show the transition, the way I reflect on my own faults and take my own accountability for my things. But at first it sounds like this. So I definitely don't want this to be on the blur because it sounds like I'm just, I forgot what it's called. I'm just blaming these people. So this is going to change and be in the book, or maybe be for a future mystery novel of people who take over your soul or something, because this sounds so interesting. But this memoir is the longest one. I actually feel like once I start this, I'm going to start publishing my short stories. I might have a book of short stories. I might do the Girl Clicks Are Deadly series. It always was my dream to be an author. And right now I'm doing mental health, but I still am a writer. I'm still publishing things regarding mental health. But I definitely want to be an author. I definitely do. But I just want, again, for you to see how this whole thing, it went from this, those few pages, it went into this whole thing, and then it ended up in the computer type. So it's, you gotta have the willpower. This is what I'm working on right now. Oops. What I'm working on right now. I've actually, I'm gonna be honest, due to the traumatic events that I had to revisit, I I stopped in that chapter of the traumatic experiences because, you know, it resurfaced. I started having nightmares about what had happened to me. But the more I put it in my face, but I pushed it slowly. I didn't want to traumatize myself further or have any attacks. So this is what was taking the longest. And now I'm focused on just writing the event, not so focused on the visual and making it sound appealing. I'm just writing it vaguely, and then I'm editing it and making it sound more appealing. So I'm really excited at my progress. I'm going to keep you posted. Right now I'm at around 10,500 words. I might even be at 11,000 when you combine everything. I'm going to type up the history chapter, put that in there, and I'm going to come back and do a better video with my process. I'm going to show pictures of the photocopy, and then I'm going to show the create space. I'm going to do that with my Macintosh, but this is my Windows, and then I'm going to show my binder properly, and I'm going to show the process properly for those who's trying to get their process. Because me, I'm kind of almost finished. I want to do a video showing my process step by step to motivate you that even if you start with one page, you still have the potential. You still can do it. So it's College Guyana. I have about 9 minutes left. All my videos ending up as an hour. I'm sorry. The next video is going to be shorter. I'm going to just talk about the books that helped me through my pain. I have one, Power of Forgiveness, but how I ended up even getting the book from this into this typed up and even photocopied and written out was that I was at home and then something happened with a neighbor who did something, and then I just wanted to put everything together. Like that just motivated me. So I went to the store, I got a binder, put the cover on the front, which at the time was nothing, it just was words. And then I put the dividers, and then from there I went and ordered the Macintosh, and I said that I'm gonna use my Mac so I could be on the go typing up everything. It's funny because I didn't even use the Mac to type up anything. I used this laptop, my trusty Dell Vostro 1500 or something, and it was all a blur. I don't even remember how I ended up typing 11,000 words. I don't. I was determined. And went into create space. I started sending it, you know, to my professor and to my mentor. Two professors and one mentor. I sent the actual booklet, and I gave it physically copied to one of my friends to show her the dedications. I have dedications, acknowledgments, but right now, I'm just focused on making it sound more like my memoir. That's why I'm going to be on the cover. It's going to be in the back about the author. It's going to have the prologue about my approach with the book and how I basically everything. So, and oh my gosh, how could I forget this? I can't even go get it now. I'm actually probably going to stop this video right now. And then I'm going to come back and put another one next to it and talk about something else. Hold on. Hi, I'm back again. So, you know how I'm always saying everything happens for a reason? I truly, truly believe that. That's one of the things that I live by. So, there was this one day I was desperately trying to make it to class, and then I just knew I wasn't going to make it. The train shut off. So, then I was like, let me do something productive. I ended up in the library, and it was a wonderful library. I ended up, I went in there actually with not with any of that stuff I showed you. I went in there with my diary, and I intended to photocopy the diary and start my rough draft when I got the photocopied pages, then type them. But I basically didn't really have that much content besides the diary. And I went in there and found like an angel. It was this woman, and she had so much insight about publishing memoirs. It's funny because I thought that anything that wasn't fiction was called nonfiction. So I went in there, kept saying, I'm going to write a nonfiction book about my life, a nonfiction book about my life. She said, do you mean memoir? And I was like, memoir. The only thing I think Memoir of a Geisha was a movie. That's the only time I really heard that word. So I was like, memoir. I think that's right because I kept saying, not. Can I have books about nonfiction? So then she was showing me stuff like this, The Art of Storytelling. This is by Nancy Lamb, like the animal lamb. The Art and Craft of Storytelling, a comprehensive guide to classic writing techniques. Sorry, I had to get a fly away from here. But she started giving me stuff like this about nonfiction. I realized I wasn't saying the right thing. Long story short, she gave me this book. This is an amazing book. There's actually a video on YouTube with the author. I'm so sorry. One of them, either Brenda Peterson or Sarah Jane Freeman, because apparently it's written by both of them. One of them was speaking about the book. It's called Your Life is a Book, How to Craft and Publish Your Memoir. This book came in. Let me get a thumbnail. Wait, I gotta do a thumbnail properly. So anyway, wait, one more. All right, so sorry. This book right here has been very useful because, in addition to saying obvious things like make a schedule, but it talks about word counts and stuff, but it talks about writing prompts. So it has like, I have survived blank because of my blank. It was not until my encounter with blank that I understood blank. But what's interesting is that I didn't really need those parts because, anyway, okay, so it has summary versus storytelling. Reporter or summary voice. Some people use that. Some people use storytelling. I'm mostly using storytelling. I'm trying to set the mood. I don't want it to really sound like a summary, but in my draft, I'm doing summarizing. Storytelling comes after for me, where I put in the little special seasonings. So then it has over here building an epiphany, when the author suddenly understands something for the first time. I do a lot of that in my memoir. It's very interesting. Your World as a Writer, that's chapter 3, daily practice. Facing your inner critic. Oh my gosh, facing your inner critic. That's my problem. As I was saying earlier, it's like I kept critiquing myself every step of the way, and when I kept critiquing, I started editing in my mind, and I started revising in my mind before I would even get the content out there. I would get an idea like a zebra has stripes, and then I'll be like, no, a zebra has white fur with the black stripes. Then I'll change that. A zebra is a striped animal. And none of this was written out. Maybe I should have written each one of those things down. So my inner critic, it was horrible. My inner editor. It has reading like a writer, dreams and letters, characters, eat, pray, love, your spiritual quest, creative nonfiction, sharing food and stories, blogging. It's funny because I have a blog, and the stuff that's on that blog has really helped me because the stuff that's in that blog is actually going to go in the book. So my book right now is 11,000 words. If I combine everything, it'll probably be like 13,000. It's pretty long, but it says everyone has a remarkable life story. The challenge is to tell when to tell it, based on decades of experience of an acclaimed memoirist and writing teacher, plus the unique perspective of an established literary agent. Your life is a book accompanies you through the transformative process of memoir writing and to publication. Master the elements of craft specific to memoir, story, art, point of view, dialogue. Move through the process of self-exploration and personal awareness using proven written exercises and prompts. This writer's guide is rich with insight, advice, storytelling, and encouragement for everyone eager to bring their real-life stories to the page. So it talks about telling the truth, and it talks about when writing your memoir, you start to feel like, what if someone involved in the story reads it and gets offended? So then that makes you shy away. That actually made me shy away a couple of times, and then I realized, wait, I'm not using names. So hopefully, if it does get famous, and I'm talking about some trauma, and the person who's the one who did it to me tries to come forward and challenge it, you didn't have to. That's how you know it was them who did it, because you could have just stayed silent and said that no one would have known. You're the one who gave out your information. I'm not using any names at all. whatsoever. But I do tell about events. But this book right here was of great use for me. I'm not even finished with it, but it helped me. It helped me. I got it at the local library in this borough. It was very useful. I really loved it. Oh, sorry, crazy cat lady. This book right here, you should get it because I thought that I was writing a nonfiction book, and when I went in the library, it just was so interesting. I went in the library and I started photocopying my stuff. From there, I walked over to a woman and I said, "Do you have books about being an author or publishing a book or something?" And then she started searching in the computer, and my scarf is tight, it makes my hair itch. Started searching in the computer, and then we started speaking. She was like, "Are you intending to write your story?" I was like, "Yes, I'm very interested in writing my story. I'm not one of those people that's going to say they're going to write it and they're not going to write it. I'm really going to write this story. It's a very important story." And then that's when she started giving me Nancy Lamb, the art. I might need a thumbnail for this one. The art and craft of storytelling. This helps you. See, it says this one. I mean, it's not really good for memoirs because it's kind of about like fictional stories and scenes, but it's good about how to put the senses and how to get the reader feeling in tune, and it's like they went into that exact event. You're really trying to create a scene here. Even with my memoir, just because it's real events doesn't mean I'm gonna just put basic events. Like imagine, God forbid, he got shot. That's very vague. You could put like the bullets, the way the bullets traveled through the air. It was like they were gliding toward a common goal of self sabotage, and that's why I'm very, the way I articulate my words, the way I put them together, it's like it's not basic. I'm not trying to sound arrogant, but it's not basic. It's like I always sound like I'm telling some type of story. That's why I have the gift of gab, and even when I'm telling someone a story, I'm always saying all these words inside it where they like engage, even people from afar, even strangers are engaged in my conversation. So that I don't just describe it regularly. Everything to me, the way I experienced it, it sounds so movie like. And it feels movie like, so that's the way I describe it. So we have this one, Art of Storytelling, it's good. Nancy Lamb. We have the Your Life is a Book, Brenda Peterson and Sarah Lane Freeman. What else helped me? This one right here, blog, podcast, Google, Sell. I actually do want to begin a podcast, but that's for another day. I'm just showing the books that this woman gave me. She went above and beyond to give me all of these books. And she even helped me with my blog, the blog that I have, WordPress, jumpstartyourfuture.wordpress.com. And then I also have an anonymous blog, which the inspiration is from the book. It's supposed to be a spin-off of the book or go inside the memoir. She went above and beyond to give me all these books, and it's like everything happens for a reason. I walked in there with one idea. I was like, I'm gonna copy the pages of my journal, and from there, it was like it just was like the way everything happened was just so crazy. It was so movie like. It was like I walked in, and then we started speaking, and she started telling me about in this community they have a self-published author convention, and I could connect with them. She gave me the resources of the different blogs, different blog posts, and it was like, I hope I see her again. She said she's not gonna work there anymore, but I want her to see my progress, like how I have an Amazon Create space, and how the journal became an actual book, and just going from, again, this, going from this, just the first few pages, to this, And then to actual book form, it's just surreal. But that's just, it's just, it's just so amazing to me. Everyone, you can write your book. I'm telling you. Memoir people, this is for you. You can do it. No one can tell you basically how your memoir should sound. Why? Because it's your experience. But I'm just speaking about how I like beg to differ. The way I wanted to combine a self-help book, which I'm gonna do in the next video. How self-help really was like my therapist. It helped me get out of bed. It helped me with everything I'm gonna do. Right now, I have all the self-help books lined up on the bed. It's like 11 of them. That along with my journaling helped me. But thank you guys for watching this video. Again, another lengthy video. I'm working on it. I just talk so much. I'm gonna try to do short videos, but this is just how I am. Like even my essays are pages long instead of the required minimum. I don't know what's wrong with me, but hopefully I get faithful people who watch it. So thank you again. It's CollegeGyalYana, and you can write your memoir. I'm going to do more of a memoir process. I'm going to record my process, my word count, show the create space, show me uploading it. I'm going to do a lot of videos like that. From now on, I'm going to make sure to keep you posted and read my little excerpts and stuff like that to keep you posted on my progress with my book. My goal date to have it finished is actually December, which would basically be around 13 months since I started it, which is pretty good. Like I said, I took a break because the traumatic event section, it was really picking with me. I started having nightmares. It resurfaced, but I'm able to process it. It's coming out, and I'm able to deal with it instead of having it. It was so stuck in me for so long, so suppressed or repressed memories. Now I'm actively trying to process it, not making myself the one to blame. I'm taking accountability and then putting responsibility on those involved. I'm righting my wrongs by adjusting my situation and ensuring that I know the steps of how it got like that and not really beating myself up too much. I'm like, due to this led to this. I'm connecting the events. I'm not putting everything on me, everything on them. It's a cycle of how I got this way. So again, it's CollegeGyalYana. Thank you for watching, and I'll be back with another video. Don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, whatever.